All right, everybody. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Diz Debate. I'm really excited for this one. This topic's near and dear to my heart. But before we get into that, we've got lots of people to meet today. Here on Diz Debate, we do all sorts of episodes. We do battle episodes. We do get to know your host episodes. We do Imagineering episodes. We do all sorts of things. And we're excited to give you a kind of a opinion piece, a speculative episode, if you will, on after a change. We're going to review a change post. But before we do, we have lots of people to talk to. So, Sophie, how are you doing today?
Oh yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, not happy that the UK is warming up again. Not about that. It's August. It needs to be getting cold soon. Not a fan of that. But on Instagram, you can find me at Sophie's Travel Journal, and on YouTube, it's Soph's Travel Journal.
Fantastic. It's always good to have you. We're glad you're here. George, how are you doing today, my friend? It's good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be back. Just dandy. Excited about this topic too. I like the strong opinions one way or the other. And of course, people can find me on Theme Park Nerd 84 on Instagram.
And somebody new, a new face. Barry, how are you today, sir?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to today's episode, looking forward to getting into EPCOT, etc. And if you do want to find me on TikTok and Instagram, it's 3bearsdodisney. That's the word 3bearsdodisney.
Well, we're excited to hear from you, and we're excited to go follow your socials. I've only heard good things about your page. So, and then Jake and Ashley, how are you doing today? Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Yeah, we're so happy to be here. We're really excited. It's great to meet you guys. We've loved following along with what you guys are doing. So this is a treat for us. But yeah, we are the Wonderful Thing About Disney podcast. So you can find us on Instagram at Wonderful Thing About Disney. And then we're on TikTok, YouTube, all the other places. But yeah, we're tickled to be here. Excited to talk EPCOT and just make some new friends. It's great.
Absolutely fantastic. And last but not least, Dean, my friend, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Had the weekend off, thankfully. Got the suitcase out for the third time, started repacking it, putting a few more bits in. Got a 3-week countdown now, so I'm almost there. But yeah, other than that, all good, thank you.
Oh, it is coming right up for you. I'm so excited, man. It's going to be so good. Well, welcome, everybody. We're happy to have faces new and old with us. Before we get started on today's episode, we like to cover a little bit of news. So first piece of news that's most pertinent to me over in the west half of the United States is that DCA is indeed getting the Avatar expansion, which I'm disappointed about. I think Zootopia would have just fit, would have worked. But what do I know? Maybe it'll rock. I hope it does for our sakes. But there you go. And then we had some other pieces of news. I know George had costume updates, and then Dean had some news about movies.
So costume updates, yes, at Magic Kingdom for the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. They went from those... People loved them or hated them. I think over time it grew in a lot of people. Cartoony fun, I guess I'd call it. Very polyester-y. Uncomfortable for cast members. Fun for the guests. The yellow, the bats. They went from that to a very much more simple, subdued... they're actually skeletons in the shape of coffins. So up close they look fun. But from afar they just look meh. But from what all the cast members thus far I've heard that work there, they absolutely love them. They're meant for comfort in the hots, Florida, October, and especially August. So it's controversial, but there you go.
Yeah, I think they look pretty nice. I can see why people think they're a little less fun, but low key, anything we can do for our lovely cast members, I'm kind of on board with. So if that means they're gonna sweat a little less, I'm in.
I concur.
Yeah. And then Dean, you had a little bit of movie news.
Yeah, so it seems like they're trying to get the X-Men lined up for D23 next weekend. They're trying to get all the castings in place. And Kit Connor from Heartstopper has landed Cyclops, apparently. So, yeah, I think
Nice.
D23 next weekend will be an interesting watch, as in if they're going to do a full rollout of the X-Men characters, who's playing them. It's big exciting times.
Very exciting, very exciting. Well, as of recording, D23 is still in progress, and so we will have many, many, many more updates on that later as it finishes. I have one more piece that goes in the news segment. It's not new, but it's new to me. Everyone knows who watches this podcast that I'm a big EPCOT guy and I'm a big Wonders of Life guy. I'm one of those EPCOT fans, and I recently spent many hours up late at night researching Wonders of Life, and I discovered through many YouTube channels and Twitter feeds that Wonders of Life has been gutted, and it has been that way for quite some time. It seems like, if not a couple years.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is. It is down to bare bones in there. There's a little bit left of Body Wars, a little bit left of the queue. All the signage and simulators are gone, but the ride rooms and the queue is still there, just a little bit. But like as far as Cranium Command and everything else, it's just down to the steel and concrete. So there's nothing left, nothing to see. So I have to publicly apologize for that because I've been saying over and over that there's 3 perfectly good attractions in there, and there's not. I am not going to apologize for asking Disney to use it and let me inside though, because they should. But that is just a PSA for everyone, all you Wonders of Life fans out there. It is gone, Zobeans, and what is left is just the dome. So we will see what happens with that. But that kind of leads us into today's topic pretty well. Today we're going to be talking about the EPCOT Overhaul, specifically what happened kind of behind Spaceship Earth and in Future World in general. Everyone's decently familiar with this change and what was promised and what we didn't get. But we kind of want to start from the beginning on what am I trying to say? We want to start from the beginning on where these changes started and why they came about. So we want to kind of go back to opening day and remind everybody that Epcot, when it opened in 1982, was this really special kind of park. It was a different kind of thing. It wasn't Disney World. It wasn't a castle park. And it was this really edutainment focused park. It was very education heavy, very real world based. And CommuniCore was probably the best example of that focus, where they had things like the land and the seas and horizons and later horizons, but Wonders of Life later and all those different rides, Universe of Energy. Those are really good edutainment examples. Those were actually perfect. But CommuniCore was really the example of their exhibits. That was more World's Fairy than everything else they had. So is there anyone here that remembers the original CommuniCore East and West? Has anyone been there? Dean, George, can you guys tell us about it just a little bit? Take a few minutes and let us know what it was like.
It was a bit like a World's Fair almost, with different exhibits in like small scale exhibits. You could go and explore and see. As a child, I thought it was so boring. I'm sorry, it wasn't my thing at all. Epcot as a whole wasn't my thing as a child, but I think had it been around now, it would have been a lot more interesting. And sorry, George, you were going to say?
Yeah, no, I mean, kind of agree, yeah, because obviously I was a child also, so for a really, really young child in the late 80s, early 90s, it was, I do remember there being, right, it was like a World Fair, a future World's Fair-esque kind of vibe. I remember it like looking cool, but it was boring. Like I just remember like the animatronics and the lights, but beyond that, there wasn't, for a kid, not much to do. So yeah, I do remember it being a bit boring, and even over time before the Epcot update, it got real dated real fast. And I'm sure we'll get into that, but I think that's kind of was part of the issue of Future World versus what is now, what is it, World Celebration? Is that what it's called? Yeah, World Celebration. Yeah, it was dated and kind of just sat, and I just remember being young and seeing that, and then that's not a great look.
I did enjoy the Sum of All Thrills when that was there, though. That was pretty
What
cool.
a name drop,
Remember
Dean. Some of all thrills.
And then another time I remember they were testing out the VR for the Aladdin attraction that went into Disney Quest. That was there for a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
Moved it over. So it did have some kind of good points. And like when I say it before, I'm not talking about like World of Motion and all of those classic Epcot rides because they don't build rides like that anymore. I just mean like the exhibit center itself. Oh,
I do obviously in the what was it, World Discovery, which was next to where where the dome we were just mentioning earlier, Body Wars. I loved Body Wars as a kid. That I do remember. And even the dinosaur with the Universe of Energy, and later on with when they had what is it, Ellen and who was the one with Ellen?
Bill Nye
Nye.
the Science
Bill
Guy.
Nye, yes. Bill Nye and Ellen, that was fun. But yeah, so those were fun. But it was like little pockets at the time.
Yeah.
I think that was part of Epcot's issue.
Yeah,
back
and
then.
I agree because there was this, like, I'm a diehard Epcot fan, so I'm trying to be partial here because I think it was such a great park and I think it was so cool. But original opening Epcot, it was called Epcot Center for a reason. It sounded like a place where you had a business meeting for a reason. Like people,
Right.
it was very education focused, and I think they went a bit too far, just a little too far that way, and a little less far on the entertainment side. Um, but that gave us great rides. Like, if you remember, there wasn't a lot of IPs back then, or there was original IPs that they had made, like Figment or something like that. But
Figment.
there was just these original attractions like the Seas, right? And they had awesome features like hydrolators and really cool interactive exhibits and stuff. And that's really what leads us to our next thing was somebody mentioned that it got dated, right? Epcot and Future World just got dated so fast, and it's still suffering from this a little bit. But Innoventions is what came next. It was the next step in the book of Epcot for that area. And that was basically just them trying to re-theme CommuniCore to kind of revamp it. And funnily enough, Innoventions actually made its way over to Disneyland in California, which I remember very vividly as a child. I played the new Xbox 360 there. But yeah, they have really cool things. Now, I remember a lot about Innoventions, and I bet a lot of people here remember Innoventions a lot more than, say, CommuniCore.
Yep.
So what does everyone remember about Innoventions comparatively?
I remember, like, so I first went in 2006, so that was kind of before the next phase of like the overhauls and stuff. And I just remember, like, as a kid, there was so many like interactive things in Innoventions, and I'd just like run around and there'd be like different things. And I really specifically remember there was like this fire drill, like thing, and it basically fire safety. And I just have this really strong memory of me and my sister just being there and doing all this fire safety stuff in Epcot. I was like, this is Disney. But it's just weird that that's the one thing I remember. But I just remember it being like quite interesting. Because I thought Epcot as a whole was boring. Because as a kid, it's not the most thrilling like park. But I remember going in there and being like, this is great. There's like so much to do, so much to look at. But then obviously as I've gone in, as the years have gone on, and you see it getting more and more sad, and everything just kind of shut, and it's just got a bit like, oh, what's the point? And then I was reading up on it just, and it triggered like a memory about, you know, when like they shut all the buildings, but you could walk down like the path, the indoor corridor with all the glass.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Yep.
why? I remember walking down there and we were like, where are we going? And we realised you can't get anywhere. So yeah, it was sad to see like the decline of it, to be honest. But I do remember some of the good things.
It kind
Yeah,
of gives
no,
me almost like a science museum meets, and I don't know if anyone UK based remembers this, but
it's a good
in
one.
London there was a thing called Sega World, which was like a VR Sega based theme park, and it just gave me the kind of a science museum meets VR theme park kind of vibes.
That's exactly what I remember of it being, like these really cool high tech future games you could play with. That bit I did really when we got to that chapter. I really liked that, and even as a kid at that age, I did like the World Showcase because I was a little bit of like a cultural history nerd even as a little kid, which I appreciate at least, and we can get to that later. But how Epcot at least kept that educational part in World Showcase bit. But back to Future World. Yeah, that's what I remember. Just playing these kind of cool early Xbox, but it was brand new at the time, or computer games. But yeah, but then I'm not sure if it was more of a financial thing or just really hard to keep up, because I could imagine eventually that that got dated, and I'm sure it's just really tough to kind of keep that up.
I was just going to say, wasn't a lot of that done by sponsors? This was back in the day when you had sponsors sponsoring everything.
That's what was interesting for us.
The first time I went was 2009. Was to Epcot. Yeah, but I remember the sponsors, like the General Motors. There was like a Honeywell exhibit too. So like, yeah, to your point, definitely very sponsor heavy for sure.
But I think a lot of this came because as technology sped up, like it was harder to keep it up to date. Like the stuff that blew our minds at the time that was groundbreaking in a year or two now, or months later, is obsolete. And so the first time that I went then, my identity for Epcot was, well, that's where everyone goes to eat and drink around the world. Oh, and there happens to be some rides. So by 2020, it had already started to lose that identity.
I was going to say there was an attraction that was sponsored by an investment company, and that's a real kind of throw in the dark kind of, we'll give you money, we don't know what it's for, but have some money to make something and put our name on it.
Yeah, it's a very old school, Walt Disney kind of thinking, right? Because that's what Tomorrowland was, and you can see that idea creep through Tomorrowland and Disneyland, and then in Westcott and in like Tomorrowland and Magic Kingdom, they tried doing that, and it worked for a minute, and then they did it in Epcot, and it didn't. It kind of worked, and then it didn't. But that's the problem we always see. This is the Tomorrowland problem: is that future always shows up, and then you got to put more money into it. And the problem is the Disney parks, especially in Innoventions era, right, which is probably 90s to early 10s, right? Like that era was a really weird time for the Disney parks. That was the Eisner era, a little bit before and after that, obviously. But they were in that time. There was lots of things happening financially with the parks where they just did not have money. And then there was really interesting things happening with sponsors where you'd get Exxon sponsoring things, or you'd get like I think didn't Exxon sponsor Universe of Energy for a while or something, like some big oil person did it, and I thought that was just so funny.
It's really on the nose.
Yeah, I know. They're like, look, like we promise we're cool, which is very fascinating. But yeah, as time went on, those things just got so tired, which brings us to the pivotal point we've been trying to get to today, which is the future world that we had when the revamp was announced. So when I went for my first time, like as an adult, when I remembered things in like 2014 to Epcot, I remember that area being really nostalgic for me because it felt like my childhood. I was like, oh, this is what I grew up with, like all these weird styling things and like checkerboards everywhere and this funky whatever, like that's how it was. And then I thought they should fix this. Now, there's two camps to this where, wow, Dean's getting involved with his cat over there. There's two camps to this, right? Because some people still long for that time of Epcot, which is so fascinating to me, because that's what they grew up with. But the rest of the people were like, which I'm one of them, I long for the past of Epcot every day, yes. But a lot of other people wanted those updates. And wanted that change. So that kind of brings us to that announcement.
I like the old. I'm nostalgic for the old, but I do like a lot of the new too, and I see its goodness.
Yes, I agree. And so now, as we move into this change, who remembers the announcement and who remembers some of the things we were promised to get? Because there's a few blockbuster items on there that we were promised to get in this revamp of World Showcase, or not World Show, in World Celebration now it's called. But
World Celebration.
yeah, World Celebration. But what was before, CommuniCore and then the various pavilions. Who remembers what we were supposed to be getting as part of those updates?
I remember that one of the main things, and it caused a lot of controversy, was when they said they were getting rid of all the legacy monoliths at the front.
Those
Because
ugly
they
things.
looked a bit, they were ugly. They looked awful. Like, you came into the park and that's what you saw, and you're just like, oh, okay. And I'm so glad they got rid of it, because I know, like, when it was announced, because people obviously paid for that, I think, and everyone was a bit like, oh, well, why are they going to go? And that caused a lot of drama at the time. I remember people being online like,
Yeah.
oh no. But it just looks so good now it's gone.
Yeah, I like what they did with the space instead. Those little things you can get, and then the square. It's a lot better. It's a lot better than the event. Something else I remember, specifically in the World Celebration area, was supposed to go. Now, this is probably one of the few things I was kind of fine with that we didn't get, but it still would have been cool. Is that, if I remember right, in the concept art, it was supposed to be like a 2-story, but the bottom half was all open, and the top half was supposed to be like event space. But then it was also gonna have like gardens on top. Visually, it looked cool. I don't remember if they said what specifically was supposed to go in there beyond event space.
Yeah, that was supposed to be, so you're right, and that was supposed to be kind of above where Journey of Water is, in kind of that weird little green
that's right.
corner. It was supposed to be a big space to sort of help host the various festivals that Epcot has. It was going to be a
Okay.
display place and an eatery, and then like a little garden as well. Just a place to go and enjoy the specific things in those festivals that they had. But that was really one of the big focal points of that change, and we didn't end up getting it, and I'm very disappointed about that. What else?
I remember. I remember that being like one of the first pieces of art they put out. Was specifically that. Yeah.
Well, we had the preview center open, didn't we? As they were doing all the work. And
In the
it kind of
Odyssey?
kind of alluded to possibly Coco coming to the Mexico Pavilion. Obviously, we had Mary Poppins coming to the UK Pavilion. Spaceship Earth was going to get the huge overhaul, which it desperately needs. And I think that they announced Cosmic Rewind at that time, didn't they? I think. Or was that slightly before, maybe?
Yeah.
And Play Pavilion, right? I think Wonders of Life
yeah.
was
And Play
scheduled
Pavilion.
for that. Play Pavilion, which we were happy to see, but also sad to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot of changes announced, right? We had this reimagining. We knocked down a big part of CommuniCore, and we left the other one. We split the building, and then we just had a lot of IPs kind of creep in to Epcot, which was new for us at the time. Not so new now, but this was back in a time when IPs going into non-IP rides was a big deal. It still is for some of us, but it was then.
Before that, we did have Nemo pushed into the seas, and we had Frozen pushed into the Norway Pavilion.
Yes, very correct.
Right before that.
They're pushing them in a bit, but not to the extent. Oh, and also Ratatouille.
Yep.
That was announced then. Oh, sorry, Sophie.
Can I mention the original, like one of the original IPs that was in there, the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience ride?
That's right. Oh, I loved Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
That was, I miss that. They were so good. I have like memories of that as a kid. It was just the best. But that was like the first, maybe one of the only IPs that was in there. Like when I first used to visit, I'd be like, where's all the Disney?
Yeah.
And that was like the only thing I could see that I'd watch the films that I could relate to, which was quite cool.
Yeah, and
They did have Barbie for 2 years as well. A Barbie show.
Did they?
I missed that one.
yeah,
I'm curious what y'all thought about that. Like for me, that was kind of the first time that I had ever gone to Epcot, is when the IP started to go in. And for me, that helped me make a connection with a park that honestly I didn't really think had much of an identity. I knew what Epcot stood for, I knew what the vision was at the time, but for me, like my nostalgia was tied to these characters, and now you were starting to bring them in kind of re-theme rides that now gave me a little bit of a pull to it and an attachment to it.
I think it works when it's done right, but I think they made a few missteps there as well. I completely agree with the characters going into the pavilions around World Showcase. And as much as I love Cosmic Rewind, I don't really think that ride should have necessarily gone to Epcot. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. It's kind of, yeah, there's probably aliens in space, but it's a fictionalized
Right.
planet that's come to Earth and set up to show people around their planet. It doesn't make sense. And like,
Yeah.
I like Moana being there, but again, not really the park for it. It's nice, it's brought some greenery, but it doesn't really. And then they've kind of hodgepodged these three names: World Nature, World Celebration, World Discovery, and it doesn't even make sense because you've got Journeys of Imagination in kind of the area, and because it doesn't fit into World Nature, they've kind of lumped it in with World Celebration. I mean, I wouldn't celebrate the new version of Figment or the new version of the ride, like the original, yeah.
But
not,
celebrate Figment.
Yeah. They need to redo that.
Where would you put Moana, for example? What parts would you put it in?
Animal, Studios, to a way, but probably Animal Kingdom. I mean, they could have done it without Moana. There would have been, I don't know, but there would have been other properties they could have fitted in a bit more, maybe. I'm not sure.
So I will say there's some of it that does work, like Frozen in Norway. That works for me personally because I'm like, that's where the story takes place. But I also know that there's a lot of people who loved Maelstrom. So that's where it's hard, is you had to sacrifice a classic in order to appeal to a new generation. And I think that's the balancing act that Disney constantly has to weigh. I agree that Moana is awesome, but it doesn't quite fit. And I love Marvel and Guardians, but it just doesn't really make sense that you put it in Epcot. But I can see where a Frozen ride in Norway could make sense.
I could see that too. I will say I totally agree with Dean on the Avengers, or on the Guardians. Phenomenal ride. Great thing to bring it to Orlando. When they first announced some kind of Guardians, I assumed they were going to do something in Hollywood Studios. Like, even if it wasn't a full-on Avengers campus, I thought they'd be like, oh, some kind of, almost like what I think, is it Hong Kong, or somebody has this, like, they don't have a full-on Avengers campus, but they have like a little section. I thought they'd do something like that over by Rock and Roller Coaster or something, where they'd do Guardians and then maybe something else. It would have been better placed over there. The ride itself, very cool. Great that they brought that. But yeah, placement kind of weird. Now, I will push back a little bit. I think Moana, where it's at, actually does kind of make sense for, what is it, the World Nature, or whatever that corner is. Just because you do have Living with the Seas there, and you do have Living with the Land there. So that corner specifically makes sense for what it is, which is ironically is a little bit education, just kind of fun. It's very interactive, which is reminiscent of a little bit of old Epcot. If you go in there and you can play with the water and all that. So I think that one was a good one there. And the other one I do like what they brought is right in the middle of World Celebration, just that gardeny area where Walt is, where there's a bunch of benches that have all chargers. I'm like, because before, from what I remember, it was a little bit plain and open and not really anything there. But now you can actually hang out and there's spaces, and so that bit I do like.
I agree with that. So I remember, like, because they had, like, they put, like, those sails up, didn't they? And they were there for quite a while.
That's right.
In that area. And I was looking at photos earlier and I was like, oh God, I remember that. And it was just made no sense because there was no shade provided by them.
Zero shade.
But no, that area, there's so much shade. And last time I went, I remember watching the eclipse because it was the eclipse happened. And
Oh,
I was
cool.
just sat in that area and like everyone was like looking through the glasses. It was just like amazing. And so I was like, oh, do you want to borrow my glass? It was just great. And I just thought that whole area was quite nice to like bring people together, like, and just kind of chill out. And everyone's just kind of taking a moment from the day. And it's just a nice place to sit and just watch the world go by with your
It is.
Starbucks. So I think that is a good thing. I know Jackson obviously doesn't agree because his face is like,
He loves
but
it. That's actually Jackson's favorite area. Um,
I
if
actually
he
just
passes,
that's
that's
as far
actually
in
where.
as I've been to Epcot. I didn't know there was other rides.
Um,
stop there. It's like that's it.
and I've been to that new lounge that's there, and sitting at that window and looking out, it's quite a beautiful view now. What they've done with the updates, so there it's definitely a lot more peaceful, naturey, beautified, a spot to just to chill.
I will rewind it back a moment.
No,
They got rid of dinosaurs and they replaced it with space. When they had a space pavilion next door
right
that
next door.
nobody
Yeah.
goes to because they throw up on. It doesn't make sense. They should have put like Guardians or Star Wars or something in the space. And I don't know what you think around dinosaurs now if they want something a bit more exciting. But it just feels too top heavy.
Yeah.
It's a shame that they don't have something. I'm a massive Elemental fan. I love the movie Elemental, and it's a shame that
Ooh.
they couldn't put something elemental orientated in World Nature because that would fit perfectly with
That would have
everything
been
that they're
good.
encompassing.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, our friends at Idiot's Guide to Imagineering, who are awesome and we love them and you should definitely go follow them, they wanted to be part of this episode today, but they weren't able to make it. So we thought we'd just throw on this little edition of some of their thoughts and let you guys enjoy it. So here's what they had to say about the EPCOT overhaul and their feelings about it.
Hey, Diz Debate. This is Katie from Idiot's Guide to Imagineering, and I'm with Jenny and Steven, and we have some thoughts about the Epcot revamp project.
Yes, we do.
Well, I think my opinions are a bit mixed. I do like that they modernize things, and I think Epcot is always in a place where you should be taking a lot of risks forward. I think that's kind of the core principle of that park is to always kind of push creativity and imagination. I think some areas fell a bit flat and feel a bit more sterile. I do really, really love that they brought in different entertainment pieces throughout the area. I liked when they first opened and they had kind of like that almost like Cirque du Soleil type show entertainment they had that was in the courtyard area. And then I liked as well how they have the Encanto show. I think that's a really fun vibe. I wish they kind of had a bit more of that like colorful excitement and energy. I just think some of the newer stuff feels a bit stale. But overall, I think it's an improvement to the area.
Yeah, I think we kind of know why it happened. I think we are a group of people who grew up in Epcot as children and loved it for the nostalgia factor. And I think people who were coming that were new to the park didn't really understand it in that way. And they had to figure out a way to modernize it in that way. And I think that was kind of the impossible task in pleasing people who knew Epcot from the way that it was. And I think they could have gone a million different directions with it. I'd love if you guys want to share on when you're, discussing this back, what you think it could have been. I would love to hear what direction you would have gone with it if you had the opportunity. I think I would have tried to incorporate more weirdness to it. We always talk about keeping Epcot weird. I think I never would have removed the light up sparkly footpath in front of the old Innoventions, but I think there's probably a happy medium to keeping it the kind of retro feel that it had and bringing it into the modern day. But that's kind of, like I said, an impossible task, and Imagineering did what they could do, and it's beautiful, but it's just, I don't know that it has the feel that we had growing up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you guys. I think that it definitely is a lot more modern. It did lose some of, I hate to say the personality it had before, but that is my thoughts a little bit. But I do think there are some great aspects to it. It does have a little bit of a temporary feel to it. So I feel like they've got something up their sleeve for the future, maybe in this area to continue revamping it.
That's true. It feels temporary. I guess that's a good way to describe that whole new area.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that it's a phase, and we'll get a phase 2. And with D23 coming up, I don't know that when this airs, if it's already happened or if it's happening soon, but we're going to find out hopefully something new for Epcot. It's the park that has the least activity going on right now, so maybe we'll find out there are some plans to kind of make it a little bit more Epcot-y, if you will.
Make it weird again.
That's
Yes.
right. Well, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
I have so many thoughts, and I could fill so many episodes. But what I found, because I've done many hundreds of hours on research on Epcot, and it's one of my favorite things ever. I found that there is a battle between three things in Epcot and most Disney parks, but especially this particular area of Epcot, and it's nostalgia and the mission of the park and being realistic, right? So Guardians is a really good example of that, where like I agree with Dean. I don't think it belongs there. Fantastic ride. I'll ride it any day.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't want it in Epcot. It doesn't belong there. I don't think so. I'd put
Hollywood
it in
Studios.
Tomorrowland. Put it in Hollywood Studios, wherever. Just put it somewhere else, please. I think Hollywood Studios is a perfect fit. But I think they just went a little too far on trying to be realistic, where they said, well, we can cater to nostalgia with Guardians, and they even mention, all these old rides in Guardians to kind of cater to the fans like me, where they're like, yeah, we recognize Horizons, we recognize Universe of Energy, like, go, that's awesome, go you guys. But Journey of Water for me is fine. I think it's a really great attraction, and I think it's awesome, and I love the interactivity and that it's there. If it's there or not, it doesn't really matter to me. I would prefer it's more CommuniCore stuff. I would have preferred that was back to the OG kind of thing. But honestly, I'm not really upset that it's there. I am upset that Guardians is there, even though it's really fun and it makes me less upset after I ride it. I think for me, I will voice my opinion of the Epcot purist and the Epcot, like the original vision kind of guy, not the communism neighborhood that it originally was, not that one, but the park that opened to us in 1982. I think it was really special, and I think it was really unique. And while a lot of it was boring, and they do need to change that to be interesting and interesting and unique, I think that overall I'm sad about the update to the front end of Epcot because I don't feel like it follows that vision. I feel like they lost a lot of what Epcot is supposed to be in updating and made it into more of a theme park instead of what Epcot's supposed to be. A lot of the changes that I saw kind of fit more with theme park changes and not Epcot changes, because Epcot's so different.
So Jackson, I like this because no matter what you do around the World Showcase, and even once you get in deeper, isn't that the first impression as you're walking into that part? You could have held on to that maybe a little bit more, and then let the development happen with the IPs and other things, further out into the World Showcase or out. They should get around a little bit more.
Yeah, I see what you're saying too, and there is a lot of Epcot left to see. It's not like they've repaved everything, right? We still have tons of opening day or opening era attractions like Living with the Land and the whole Seas Pavilion. Besides the
Spaceship
Nemo
Earth.
edition, Spaceship Earth, big one. That's the big, Test Track is changed, but it's still fun ride, still kind of the same,
right.
Different message, same fun ride. So there is a lot to see, and I don't think they've ruined Epcot by any stretch of the imagination. It's still a very successful, great park. But I do see what you mean, and I can't just say, oh, there should be no IPs, because I wanted Mary Poppins in the UK Pavilion, and I like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure in France. It makes sense. I am a Maelstrom guy, but I recognize that is the nostalgia, because that ride sucked.
Yeah.
But it was so classic and old Disney, and it was so lovable, and so I love it. Frozen makes more sense there, and I agree it works.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. Like I'm one of those old school. Like I love Maelstroms, but I can recognize I liked it because it was so horrible. I feel like we're that generation of Disney goers, right? It was so bad, we loved it so much. Like, but a new person going would be completely confused and horrified, if anything. But yeah, Frozen makes sense there. Completely on board with the, again, fun but weird placement of Guardians. But Jackson, I'll ask you, do you think like the Moana experience, you don't think like that's a little bit educationally and tying into nature and
I think it
and
fits.
like helps?
Yeah, I think it fits, especially with the rebrand of World Nature. I think it does work there. And like I said, Moana, I really don't have any I don't have a thing to pick with that. Like it's fun, it's cute, it cools you down, it's neat for the kids, it's neat for the adults. Like really, there's not a lot to hate there. Now, do I wish it was there? Whatever. Again, if it was there instead of what a CommuniCore Hall was, sure. But for me, I'm just such a purist guy, and I'm such an OG guy, and that's such an unpopular opinion because what Epcot was so weird and so boring. And so I understand that, and I know I'm wrong, but I'm happy to be wrong.
That's all right.
I
like that.
You're wrong, but it wasn't one of the points of Epcot to like blow your mind, make you think a different way. And I will say, going to Moana the first time and experiencing that, it blew my mind. I was like, wait, how is me moving my hand causing the water to do something? Like, I felt kind of childlike in that moment, and I think, Jackson, isn't that what you're saying too? That
Yeah.
Childlike one of it all.
I would agree, and I would agree with that about Moana, and that's why I have zero I could not make an episode about the Moana fountain because I'm just like the Moana experience. I'm happy it's there. I'm like, cool. Like, would I have probably put it there personally? No, but am I glad it's there and is it neat? Yeah, sure. Now, like Guardians, I could make an episode about because I don't think it should go there, and I miss I miss what should be there. I wish there was a more. Right. And before anyone says anything, I do realize the tie-in there because, the idea is that you go on Guardians and it's like this place where you get to know other worlds and like you get to experience whatever their planet it's called, I forgot. But you yeah, that, and you get to learn and you get to and they teach you, and there's a lot of learning there. So I get the tie-in, but I don't like it.
Didn't they say they knew what they were doing with the attraction, but then they needed an IP to tie in with that? I'm sure one of the Imagineers said that. So it wasn't set out to be Guardians of the Galaxy. It was set out to be like an end of the universe roller coaster, and then they needed something to tie in with. So I think it would have landed a bit better, maybe.
They could have got sponsored by the Big Bang Theory and just had that theme tune on the ride. That would just be brilliant.
I'll take Guardians over that. Thank you very much.
I guess, again, love Guardians, but to Dean's point, I feel like if they would have gone more in that direction, that would have almost been a better tie-in. And they could have made it more realistic in that way.
But then they wouldn't sell the merch.
I mean,
it's all about the merch and everything else.
I just realised I do have Epcot merch. I have a Rocket the raccoon plush.
And it's not
displayed. I said earlier for context, I don't have any Epcot merch, but I do. But I was going to say, does anyone remember, like 2018, 2019 in the summer, they did a stage show for Guardians of the Galaxy. It was called Awesome Mix Live. And it was like, I kind of thought I dreamt it. It felt so strange at the time. I think they just announced, obviously, the ride. So like, okay, right, we need to link Guardians somehow to this. And it was the stage show in the USA Pavilion, and it was like Gamora and Star-Lord, and they came, they played songs, Groot was the DJ, and it was like, this is our culture from Xandar. This is like all this stuff. It's about cultures and stuff, and it was really random. And it was a bit crazy, but I think that's kind of what they started to make an effort to kind of link and say, right, you all need to get used to Guardians being here because it's coming, and this is our kind of introduction to it. And I think it was a good kind of slow introduction, maybe it weren't the best things in the world, but I think they made an effort. Yeah, I think it's great there. But I know everyone else disagrees.
I'd like to pose a
I
question.
love the ride.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the ride. Great ride. I'd like to pose a question for everybody. If we did a more CommuniCore-esque revamp, like if they redid that main part of Future World, and it ended up being a CommuniCore-esque thing where they had exhibits and things to do you think it would work if it was just a new version of that? And how would you keep it from experiencing what happened to it twice, where it just got outdated and dumb?
I think initially, like the first one, like Innovations when it came, it'll be really cool. But I think as Disney kind of figured out very quickly that it also gets dated very quickly, and it's just, it's one thing which they do, and they try to revamp lands or rides or something every once a decade or once every few years. With something like that, you'd almost have to do it every 2 or 3 years, and that's going to be very pricey on their end.
I'd rather that money went to Tomorrowland, say, or just a new attraction, right? I'd rather they could just build something and leave it. And maybe Jake and Ashley are right about this. Like, they've kind of changed my mind while we're making this, where maybe Moana is a better version of CommuniCore, where we have this interactive experience that teaches people and that everyone enjoys, that's more timeless, right? Like, it's not like you're going to outdate water, Like,
You're right.
so I think you're right about that. You know what? I changed my mind about Moana. I'm in. Right here. I don't change my mind about Guardians. Frick that.
So if I say it, it's you don't really hear it. But if the guys from Utah say it, then that's what it was. So
look, there's a lot of ganging up here. Okay, I have to be with my people. No, but I agree. And George, I think you're right too. I don't know. I think there's a really big struggle in me where I want the nostalgia and I want the classic, but I also want something that's going to make the park last. And so maybe it is Journey of Water, but I agree. I think that you like people who say like, oh, just make it again, just do CommuniCore again. It just doesn't work. Like you said, it would be cool, and then 2 years later it wouldn't be.
I suppose they could do, if they want to do something like that and they want to have technology, they could, going back to Elemental because it is my favorite film, they could do like renewable energy, and they could have an exhibit which was using wind energy, and they could have water energy and all stuff like that, and it could be sponsored by the companies that represent those kind of energy sources, and make that interactive and make it something.
And to your point earlier, Jackson, I do feel there is obviously an element at Disney, especially Epcot, that is all still protective of nostalgic but relevant things like Living with the Land, right? You do have, I think the hardcore Epcot fans love Living with the Land, but then you'll still have people that hate on it because they think it's boring and how dare they. But I think it's awesome. But Living with the Land, we mentioned some others that are still there, that are still tied. Obviously the entire World Showcase. So for us nostalgic lovers, you still get that. And I do like how that perfectly came out of your ear, though. That was really cool.
I turned around to acknowledge its existence because it was odd. Just this arm. That was my wife, everybody. That was a feature of my wife's arm.
It's beautiful hand. Beautiful hand.
So if we get back to the question of today's episode, right, which is, did the overhaul work and did it achieve what it set out to do? I think it may have, but I don't like it.
I think it did. I think if its mission was to revamp Epcot, re-excite it, get people, have those still touches of education. We mentioned Moana and a few other things. Community, which is what I think that now World Celebration Center garden area does. I think it achieved that. I think true they might have missed the mark on a couple little spots here and there, but I think overall, mission accomplished, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, like, thinking about the question, I also think about our kids and taking them to Epcot. if you made the front of Epcot kind of a little more like CommuniCore Hall, where it was like bringing that nostalgia, I think you're going to lose the kids. Because when our kids go to Epcot, they're like, we want to ride Guardians. Like, that's the first thing that they want to do. So I think what they did, it kind of brings a little bit of everything, if that makes sense.
True.
It does make a few good stopping points on the way to World Showcase. So I agree.
It does.
And maybe they're not done yet. Like, maybe they're still trying to figure out that balance, because I think that is, like, Jackson, what we were talking about earlier, like, that's the beauty of that part, is it's meant to make you think, make you feel like. But I know our society is all about entertain me all the time, you know?
Yeah, and that's a challenging thing to cater to. So but here's one thing I will voice about this, because I like where we're going with this, where we've built an Epcot that future generations can enjoy, and we've preserved Epcot, right? Like, we've made it last, so that's cool. Yeah. I wish the updates especially in what was CommuniCore, because now it's like a store and a Starbucks and a quick service, right? There's just some stuff up there. That's fine. I'm happy that those things are there, but I wish they just had a titch more character, just a little bit. It looks like any office building that I've ever been into, and I wish they just had a little more.
Hey.
This fills me with so much rage.
What I said or what they did?
No, what they did. Okay. Because, not you, sorry.
I thought you were about to throw hands with me.
No, Jackson, you in general just fills her with a lot of rage. But that's
no, I know. I am the hated one of this episode. I'm making this hard. If I wasn't here, this would have gone very smoothly. Jake and Ashley, I should have just given it to you. Or George, you could have hosted this one yourself, bro. Anyway, continue. Continue, Sophie.
So, I'll take you back to Mouse Gears. That shop.
Mouse Gears, yeah, that's right.
That was the best Disney merchandise store. It was the best performing, I think. It did very well for what it was. And it was pure Disney.
It actually still is.
Yeah, and it's still like, it's just the nostalgia of it and the old style with, it was the carpet, there was everything everywhere, like all the little bits on the, it was just great. And you'd walk in there and you think, this is Disney, this is what it should be like. But now, like, I can't think of what it's called. I have wrote it down.
Connection Shop, I think. Isn't it Connection Shop? Yeah.
And it's so boring. It's white, and it blends seamlessly into the eatery next door and Starbucks.
Which is what it's meant to do, but yeah. It's
like it's weird. It's kind of like how they just repainted our Target in our town. Like, it's great.
Yeah, there's like that corporate wood grain. I don't know how to describe it, but it's this certain color that they choose for every office building, and then like that weird architectural style that like half the thing isn't supported, so it's like a bench and it comes out at an angle and then it stops, and you're like, wow.
It's like that generically nice kind of, but it's generically nice. Like,
yeah,
it's
a non-committal art style, is what I think it is.
Right,
Dean.
It's like what they've done to all their hotels now. So the new hotels that are coming, they're all just generic, and they've lost their character.
Do you know what it is? The removal of whimsy. Disney are not whimsy anymore, and it's doing it.
Well, and you have to think about it from this is the same problem that we've addressed with CommuniCore, where if Disney makes something that's full of character, it's also going to be dated at some point. There will be some point where that becomes old to look at, or it's lost its charm, or I've looked at that sorcerer hat for 10 years and now it's just an eyesore, right? Like, there's a point where Disney they have to pull the plug on something like that, and I think they've learned that. And so instead of saying, now we'll have to redo Epcot every 10 years, they're saying, now if we play it safe and we take care of it, we can redo Epcot every 15 or 20 years and we'll be okay.
Right,
like new paint on that, life is good.
And you even see that in their whimsical. I mean, that's a good point. But you see it in like Pop Century, Art of Animation. You see the whimsical where it's safe to do whimsical. But then when it's something that could be dated, they kind of pull back on it. And they'll theme it nicely. Like, it's still beautiful. Like, I know it's hotels is a different subject, but you see it in the Polynesian Tower. It's gorgeous, amazing. And they do other elements. And there's a very light Disney overlay. But with everything with the nature and all that is still there. But yeah, to bring it back to Epcot specifically, and to Jackson's point, yeah, they're playing it safe for a good reason. Financially, they don't have to update it all the time, but then keeping the whimsical where the whimsical needs to be, and then keeping it generically Disney everywhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's hard. I will say though, I didn't love it at first, but they've nailed that new area loop up there as well. That new composition, it is not the same as the old one. Like the old one has so much charm, but
Yeah.
that beautiful music they play when you walk into Epcot, it's great. I'm sorry, it's
It is
good.
good now.
I know it's not the same old loop. I listen to the old loop every day. I love the new one. It's great.
I do love the new one.
It sticks with you too, because even before you said that, like, no lie, that was actually going through my head, and I'm just kind of like, oh, yeah. But I will say, like, if you want to start a fight with anyone, just talk about changing living with the land. Like that.
I will throw hands. I will throw hands.
Like no one will let anyone ever.
Oh yeah.
This ice station cool.
Ooh,
That was a really nice little area.
It literally was cool.
I agree. I miss a lot of those themed old things like Ice Station Cool was cool, Mouse Gear was cool. I remember I think one thing to if you want to throw hands about something, Electric Umbrella is one that people will cry actual tears over missing, which it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool, but that's one of them. So
It was cool. After I did security and I worked at food and beverage, that's where I worked right after. So it was Connections Eatery. But a lot of the people, like the supervisors and the coordinators that worked there, were under Electric Umbrella, and they still had the pictures up, and it was really cool.
I say one thing I'm really passionate about in Epcot, and it's in World Showcase, is Grand
England?
Fiesta Tour.
Oh, okay.
That is like that ride. If they touch that, I will fight. I'll fight whoever I need to fight, so they keep their hands off that, because I just think that's
I
like
hope not.
peak.
I don't think so. I mean, a good sign is they did just spend apparently a lot of time and money on the new animatronics
Yeah,
for Donald and the Three Amigos.
yeah, because it was a cactus for a very long time.
That's right.
With a sombrero. And I just remember seeing that and being like, "Oh no, this is very sad." But when he was replaced, I was like, "This is the future." I've got so much faith in this ride. But I think for me, that's like nostalgia as well. I know this, but I feel like you still need things like that. You can't just rip everything out, which I know they would if they could, probably. But
I don't think they'll touch the country. I don't think they'll touch the countries, to be honest with you. I don't think they'll mess
they
with that.
have.
better touch.
They
Well,
got
I
rid
mean,
of
Touch
them.
the UK. Like it needs some work.
Well, yeah, I meant like get rid of them. I don't think they'll get rid of them.
Too
Yeah.
accurate.
I know what you mean.
There's
though.
not enough space for Coco to go
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
the countries are pretty relatively safe as far as attractions go. Dean's cat is one of my favorite like side characters on our podcast. He's it's problematic. It's really fun. But
It's beautifully problematic. I like it.
oh, it's great. Go back to what we were talking about. I do think that the revamp worked, and I didn't before. I thought I was ready to like die on the hill of that this doesn't work and I don't think it belongs and I think it's stupid. But now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm seeing it through the lens of those that are smarter than me. I'm realizing that namely George and Jake and Ashley. I'm seeing that I may have been wrong, and I don't think that Epcot, it's not the way I would have done it, and I really wish they'd kept more of the original spirit in that. But Moana's a great example of bringing that park into the future and making it a park where our kids can enjoy Epcot. They can still walk through, the world celebration like we did when we were kids and be like, oh, remember the Moana thing? We'll be like, yeah, I mean, it's not mouse gear, but whatever. And then we'll be like, oh, this is great though. This is so fun. I'm loving this. So, I don't know. Does anyone have any closing thoughts about this?
Read Moana again, that front garden area. I said it before. I think they hit the mark. There's little touches I would have done differently. We talked about Guardians, but overall, I do think they hit the spirit of what they set out to do. in terms of bringing it into the 21st century and for generations to come.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that it is a good thing what they've done. Like, because I last went in 2019, then I went again in 2024, and seeing that change and being like blown away by the improvement it made. Like, when you walk into that park now, it makes I know Space Burst always made an impression, but it just feels better now. There's more of an impression because you walk in and you see the new like fountain, and you go around the back and it's all the trees, and it just looks. I just think it's a lot nicer than it was, personally.
More shade, but yes.
I'm very excited to see the last time I was there, and the only time I've been there was 2022, in October
Oh,
2022.
wow.
So going back there now, 4 years later, it's going to be nice to see all of the things because I've
Yeah.
never seen pictures and stuff like that. So seeing it in person would be really nice. I think they've done the right thing.
And we've got the partners statue, which is a win, I think.
That was a good one. I think that, and I think the way they did it too, when I heard it was coming, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It's going to be beautiful. But I didn't realize they're going to do it so people can actually like sit with him and make it very intimate. I think that was beautiful. I think Walt really, and the way they just have him looking out, I think it's very poetic.
The one thing I will say is I don't get how going back like 15 years, the lights in the concrete used to work constantly, and now they've redone it and half the lights don't work. It just makes sense.
I was trying to keep it positive, but the lights in the concrete is unfortunate. That come on, bro. Like, that's just wire it up, dog. Come on.
Wired.
I would also just like to say before we do end, and before we hear from Jake and Ashley, that I do appreciate the throwback and the beauty of the original fountain, like Epcot symbol with the glass pillars in the entrance of Epcot. That was beautiful, and I love you, and I will pay ticket money to that park just to see that thing. I am here just for that little glass statue. Thank you for that, Disney. Thank you.
Yeah. The vibe is still there with that fountain walking in, Spaceship Earth. Well done. Great.
I'll say that was a lot of construction for a very long time. So I'm glad that it's open now, because I feel like we had to wait a long time for it. And so, I don't know, maybe that's why I think I like it so much, is it's finally open and available to us. But, I'm excited to see what they continue to do, because I think they've found the right blend and balance. Now I want to see what's next. Like, take what they did with Moana and take it around Epcot a little further. And then I think we're really on something.
Fun idea.
Yeah, and something I like about doing this podcast in such an informal setting like this is that we bring together all these types of people with all these different opinions, and also me. And then we talk about these changes and these things that Disney's doing. And the thing I love about it is, like, there's so many angles to come at this at. Like, we could just do nostalgia, or we could just do edutainment, or we could just do what secures it for future stuff, or what's the smartest IP to put there. And I love that we usually arrive at a balance where we're like, you know what, I do think they did something right. Like, is it what I would do? No. And is there things I don't love about it? Yes. But it's still good, and I still get to walk through Future World and enjoy some of the architecture that was still there, and I still get to experience Epcot, and so do the kids, and hopefully we do for a long time as they keep adding countries. Please, Epcot, add more countries. So yeah, for real, let's please. Yeah, dude, that would be such a good one. That's such
That'd
a good
be
one.
amazing.
Oh, that
That'd
would
be a good
get
one.
people walking straight. It doesn't matter what you put in Future World; they'll walk straight through for that. But I love that we were able to discuss this, and I love that we were able to kind of learn from each other about this. At least I learned some things. Maybe everyone else was smart, but I really do appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming and joining us on Diz Debate here. We really appreciate you bringing your knowledge and your expertise and taking time out of your day to be with us. We do appreciate it. If you would like to know more about Epcot and these changes, please go watch the Bright Sun Films video that he did, or Offhand Disney has some about the updates, and they talk about more about the challenges they face during construction. They talk about a little more about how COVID impacted these things and so on, right? There's a lot we didn't dive into, especially historically, in this episode. But this was just some Disney fans talking about a Disney park that we all like to visit, and some of us like to drink around the world in. So good times. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. Wherever you watch and listen, we're grateful that you've been tuning in. We love making this podcast, and we're grateful that everyone gets involved. Thank you so much for everyone who was here. Dean and George, Sophie, Barry, James, Ashley, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you, and we are so grateful that you joined us today. Please do have a great rest of your day, and be safe if you're out in the U.S. There's lots of fires out here. Be safe in the heat. Don't die. And we will see you next time on Diz Debate. Bye-bye now.
Bye.